Welcome to this edition of the Rhody Reporter. I'll be your host for the segment, Mark Zaccaria. As the new year dawned, Rhode Island Commerce crowed about the fact that it had distributed $51 million in aid to Ocean State businesses. Secretary of Commerce Stefan Pryor proudly noted that team had just edged out his year-end 2020 estimate of $50 million. Unfortunately, your erstwhile Rhody reporter is obsessive-compulsive about details. The funds Secretary Pryor referenced in his breathless remarks came from the U.S. federal government, courtesy of the CARES Act. President Trump signed that one into law on March 27, 2020. Shortly thereafter, the Ocean State Treasury received some $1.2 billion CARES Act dollars specifically designated to assist private businesses in Rhode Island, which had been harmed by COVID-19 government lockdowns. So Mr. Pryor's assertion was that in 9 months, his organization was able to get a little less than 1% of that federal aid into the hands of its intended recipients. Straight-line arithmetic would suggest that some 900 more months would be needed to finish the job. That's a nice round 75 years. Bravo! By the way, do you remember the fiscal year 2021 Rhode Island budget? That's the one we will be asked to further fund with $400 million in new state bond authorization. Sure, that one. That's the one we're already halfway through. It turns out that almost $1 billion of those CARES Act dollars have already been poured into funding the current Rhode Island spending plan. So don't worry about 75 more years of hard labor for the Pryor mob. They're good. Rhode Island businesses, on the other hand, are dying on the vine. That's because our fair state insisted that they close, but also insisted that they pay all taxes, fees, rent, bridge tolls, because, hey, Secretary Pryor got to get his paycheck. Listen closely, and you will hear lots of chatter from the state legislature criticizing the Trump administration for constantly trying to fund corporations, but always stiffing the state and local governments. We are doing the people's business, the bureaucrats will whine, trying to justify more Christmas presents for themselves. Well, here's how this reporter sees it. The corporations intended for funding by the CARES Act were small family businesses, all of whom were brought to their knees within the year by government mandates supposedly aimed at public health. Government took their incomes, so it stands to reason government should help replace some of it. Meanwhile, state government coffers are empty because of decades of bad fiscal management. Our elected leaders have spent generously on staff benefits and perks without concern for where the income to cover it would originate. Now the cupboards are bare, and they're all crying uncle. Uncle Sam, that is, to pull their fat out of the fire. COVID relief was only about COVID relief. Tough love. So Secretary Pryor and company had no choice but to steal the money from the mouths of restaurateurs, hoteliers, and gym owners. But they each got every one of their paychecks. Good job.